And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Okay, right away we like Kerfuffle. Why? Because it says over 100 dice. Woo!
Really?
Okay. Yeah, there's a lot of dice in there. The game comes with piles and piles of different dice, and it's essentially a dice version of Scrabble. Kind of, sort of. Let's take a look. Here's the board, and each player is going to get a whole pile of dice in their color. So, let's say I'm the red player and I have these dice, and what I'm going to do on my turn, on a basic turn, is I'm going to take this big number cube and roll that, which incidentally is it's not very satisfying to roll a big hollow cube. I don't know why. But you look at the number that you roll. So here I rolled a 3. That means I'm going to take 3 dice, I'm going to roll them, and put them in the grid. Now when I put dice in the grid, if there's no dice there, I can start at any white spot. If there is dice there, I can build off those dice. But I rolled 2 6s, so that's a pair of 6s, so I can place those there. Later on, someone can add to those by adding 6s along that line. Or, as long as they can do at least 3, they can start building a straight. You can see there, a 6, 5, 4. And so when you roll your dice, let's say I roll 4 dice, and this is what it looks like now. I got to figure out how I can add to this. I can say, all right, I'll put the 2 5s there, and I'll add the 3 and the 2 there. And as the game goes on, it might be harder and or easier to put these out. Now that's the basic game. In fact, if you just want to play a strategic game, you can do that. But the game also comes with the rules with a deck of cards. And what you're going to be doing is you're going to be drawing the top card from this deck before you roll the big die. So for example, this will say balance the big die in your head this turn. If it falls off while you're placing the dice in the game grid, remove the placed dice and your turn is over. Or perhaps roll twice as many dice as the big die roll. Or perhaps, if you place all your rolled dice on the game grid, jump up and down and scream victory. Or perhaps spin around for 30 seconds before placing your dice on the gaming grid. And there's all sorts of wacky, odd things like this that you have to follow. The game is very simple. The first person who manages to get rid of all their dice and get them on the board, not like this, but by actually placing them, that person is the winner. Alright, so Kerfuffle. Let's see what the kids think of Kerfuffle and whether they like the dice and the silliness. Amy?
Well, I like this game because I saw of lots of things. Well, I kind of got mixed up because whenever I said, oh, I go with 3 there, my mom and dad would be like, no, can't go there. I'd be like, oh, go there. No, can't go there.
Okay, did you like the silly parts of it, where you had to spin in circles and stick your tongue out and all that stuff?
It was very interesting because my mom had to burp every single time after she rolled the die. She's like,
okay, all right. We don't need to demonstrate the burping. Okay, who's next? Holly, come and tell us what you thought of this game. Did you like this game?
yeah. The part I didn't like was the putting on the board.
Okay, so you just like doing the fun stuff. Okay, not necessarily putting the dice on the board. All right, Melody, and your final thoughts.
This was a fun game. It was really fun. I liked the part where you drew the card, read in, did what it said, and rolling the dice and putting them out. But after a while, it got kind of difficult, but it was still fun.
Yeah, it is possible to actually cordon off a section of the board, where it's harder to put dice on. But you will eventually get to put them on. The cards are completely unfair. Some cards, if it lets you put out double the dice, that lets one person get really far ahead of everybody else. But it does add an element of silliness that kids are going to like. So they're actually doing a thinking game, putting on straights and several of a kind, and trying to spatially put the dice on the board, but at the same time they get to do silly things. So I think this is great for kids. Adults could play it without the cards completely, which would be fine, although you're still stuck with rolling that number cube, that die, that adds that randomness to how you put the dice out. If I was designing the game, I would have made the die go from numbers, have it from 2 to 5 or something, so that the spread was a little bit better, so that at least you're always putting 2 dice out rather than having the 1. But as it is, it's an interesting game, and I think it mixes silliness with thoughtfulness at a decent pace, especially for kids.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find the latest board game news at Dicetowernews.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Fun Again Games, the world's best game source. Fun Again Games has over 5,000 games available. Check them out at funagain.com.